had enough break within this busy schedule. So first of all, let me extend our sincere gratitude to our official gold partner, the Chartered Institute of Marketing, and who have joined hands with us to make the project success. So let's hear it from the Chartered Institute of Marketing now. Yeah. So yeah, thank you, Gold Partner, and let me extend our sincere gratitude to our platform partner, Curva, and once again our media and awards partner, Articulate Asia as well. So let's get into the session. So yeah, today we are having another interesting session in marketing in current context. So hope this will be another interesting session. So let me welcome our special guest for tonight, Ms. Onali Disanayaka, who is the country president for the Chartered Institute of Marketing for Sri Lanka and Maldives. So over to you, Onali Disanayaka, madam.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening to all of you. Right. So since it's a marketing session, I will be asking questions on and off. So I would like all of you, since you are interested in coming into the marketing field, to get involved, ask questions, because that's the only way that you can exceed in marketing. There is no other way of doing marketing if you are going to be quiet and in your own little corner. So first of all, let me thank Isaac for inviting me to give this keynote speech today. We are going to actually speak about marketing in the current context. I heard that you have already learned a lot about marketing, digital marketing, principles of marketing. So marketing is basically in everybody's body. All of us know how to market. It's just that we need to understand how to market right. So with that, I would like to start off. So before I start off, can I see all of you saying ready? If you're ready for it, can you please type ready on your chat box? Right, great. So everyone seems to be all ready. Okay, let me share my screen. Give me a second. All of you can see the screen.
Yes, madam, we can see your screen.
Right, okay. So we are going to start with marketing in the current context. So let me first tell you what we will be going through in this. So this will be the lineup. I will do an introduction on what the current market is. Then we will see what affects the market, how we will win, and what is it in for us. Okay. It might sound a little technical. I will try to make it as simple as possible. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask, because if you ask, it will be easy for me to clear it out for you without you going there totally unknown. Right. In the current context, we know that COVID is in place and it's affecting all of us in numerous ways. But when you look at the market, now this is what has been happening. I know it's a lot of numbers. Just to give you a brief idea, this is how the economy has been fluctuating in worldwide, globally, during the past few years, since 2015, we have seen that there has been a decline. And with the 2019, with the pandemic affecting certain countries and then it coming to the rest of the world, it saw massive decline. So what you can see is that the decline keeps on getting worse and worse with the pandemic coming in, because in the world, in the market, there were other things that were affecting, like the global climate, then racial conflicts, wars, lots of things have been happening. So with everything that happens around us, our market changes. Our market is actually what is around us. So when things go wrong, the market gets affected. So with this, if you can see, during the last few years, some of you might not have been born in 1991, but there were recessions. Recessions mean the economical crashes. So with that, with those, economies started dropping down, and the pandemic is only made it worse. So it is actually worse than the recessions that the world faced, right? So with this current context, the World Bank is expecting 115 million additional extreme poverty cases in the world. That means we already had poverty-stricken nations, poverty-stricken families in the world. This is added to that. So 115 million expected to be in poverty lines with the current situation going, right? So you can imagine what kind of a market that you are going into. It's not an easy market. It is a very challenging market. And with that, with these changes, the market also has changed. With time, with the necessities coming into play, the market has changed, right? So let's look at what has affected the market. So these are some of the areas that has affected the market. We will look at it in depth as much as I can. So global pandemic is one, market crash and recession, systemic mistrust, weak productivity, environmental concerns, talent shortages, and technology advancement. Now you must be wondering, technology advancement, isn't it supposed to make marketing easier? We look at the reasons why we have identified these 7 aspects to have affected the market that we are in. Are we okay so far? If you're okay, tell me that you're okay. Then I will know that you have understood what I've said so far. So in the chat box, if you can say okay. I got a yes from Danula. Right, great. So when we look at the global pandemic, it depends on how long it lasts. Now, see, the pandemic, if it was only a short period of time, then the people get used to the whole thing. Then when the pandemic is over, they go back to their normal selves, right? But the longer it takes for the pandemic to settle down, there are lots of economical effects. People lose jobs. We already know that. Then people don't have money because they don't have jobs. So how can we sell something when people don't have money? Because the money that they have, they will want to use it for essentials. So can we spend something that is not actually an essential, right? Some time ago, we would have had a pizza twice a week. But if I have lost my job, can I afford to have pizza twice a week? There's a question. So that means then the market has certain limitations. So when the limitations are there is a lot more competition in the market. So the longer the COVID or the pandemic stays, the harder the marketing becomes, right? So with that we say social effects. So social effects, what happens with the social effects? If we have got used to being in the house for too long, what happens? Are we buying clothes? Are we buying shoes to go out? Are we pumping petrol into our vehicles? No. Why? Because we are not going out. We are used to not going out. We are used to making use of what we have. So this society also get affected. People, the children who are growing up now, the young children will get used to sitting in a place, working with their gadgets, the phones, their laptops, because they're not used to going out, buying things. So they will want to have more access to machines. So which means the chances of you window shopping or seeing something and buying it is less important. That means you will be more interested in something popping up on your phone or popping up on Facebook or Instagram and buying that. And that was if it is something like a bathing suit, and if you are not used to going out into beaches and things like that, but you are far more comfortable sitting inside and playing a game on your phone, is there going to be a market for such products? So market has changed and will continue to change with the length of the pandemic taking effect, right? So that's one way the pandemic has affected the market, right? Then we go into market crash and the recessions. So when there are economic downturns, when people don't have money, or the recessions, there was a recession, the recent most recession happened with the US. Have any of you heard of the recession that happened some time ago? If you have heard, say yes. Or you can tell where the country it took place, where it started. Do I see any answers in the chat box? Okay. Dinit seems no. Okay. Nimutu knows. So yes. So it happened in US with the estate industry, right? Real estate industry. So, but at the end of the whole thing, it affected the whole world. Even though it did not affect Sri Lanka as much as some other countries, we also got affected. So when people don't have money, when they lose jobs, again the recession takes place, and then with that, what happens? With the economic downturn happens when there is no money for companies to pay. Little things like exploitation of remote work. What happens? They try to get rid of people who are working in their companies. They try to give work to freelancers who might be working at a lesser cost than an actual worker would, a permanent worker would. Right? So companies are trying to cut down costs. They try to cut the cost of rentals, overheads. So overheads means current. If you are working in office, you would know that there is current, that consists of AC, then coming and going, the transportation costs. There are lots of things that affect companies. So those companies get affected with this, and what they do is they try to cut the cost. So with the cost cutting, some people lose jobs, some people lose benefits, and then there comes a boom for certain people who are working as freelancers, but not for the same pay that they would get if they were permanent employees, but a reasonably cut down amount. Then e-commerce. People also try to make use of e-commerce. There is a benefit and a disadvantage in e-commerce. With things like the economic downturn happening, people try to invest more on technological stuff because it's cheaper. In certain areas, if they have a website, it's cheaper instead of going for a shop. So there are lots of places that has come up online. So instead of spending a lot of money, they cut down the cost and give these other people to manage certain places. So digital business journey, that's how digital business journey started thriving. We actually saw it with the COVID situation. Some of the digital businesses started thriving, right? Then comes systemic mistrust. You must be wondering what systemic mistrust is. With global consumers and citizens, they don't trust when they don't see you, when they can't feel you, when they can't feel the product you are giving. Sometimes it's very common to us females, if we don't get into a dress and feel it, we are little reluctant to buy it online. Isn't that common with most of the females, right? So we don't trust everything that everyone says. We are a little more hesitant to believe what the advertisements say. We are a little more hesitant to believe what a salesperson say. We don't trust everything. So we try to, that's why we Google, we see, okay, what are the reviews? They say that the hotel is the best and the 5-star hotel. What does the reviews say? So there is a little bit of trust that is a concern, right? And with that, with all this mistrust and with these borders closing down, the mistrust also gets worse. So that means when the borders are, when we cover our borders, we say we don't want people coming to our house. What do we feel? That they don't trust us. So in the same way, with companies closing their borders, with countries closing their borders, we become a little hesitant to trust people. So even if we want to get something from another country, if we can't see it, if we can't believe it, we won't buy it. So people have this problem. Then brand loyalty is also questioned. With mistrust comes brand loyalty. Some of the people, now when we buy certain things, we buy because a brand says something. But when we experience some sort of difficulty, say it happened in the first wave of our COVID situation, we ordered certain things with known supermarket chains. But the products got late by weeks. What happened? Did we order again? No. We prefer to buy it from small timers or small and medium businesses because they delivered on time. Not that their products are different from the other supermarket, but the trust was more with the person who gave it to us on time than the person who never delivered it. So there was this mistrust continues, makes the market a little bit different for us to manipulate it the way we want. Then productivity, weak productivity. So when people, we know how it is, are we all very productive studying at home? Tell yourself honestly, how much do we do? If we have to work at home, do we actually do anything at home? Sometimes the chances of us completing a task in office, if we finished a task in 2 hours, now we might be finishing a task probably within about 4 hours, 5 hours. If we can delay, we would delay. So the productivity also gets slow. So we are very slow in our productivity. So that makes companies want to cut their cost because, see, when you are working socially in a socially distanced way, what happens? You try to look at ways to make the whole system, the operation work in a productive way, right? So with all this, certain jobs get hindered, certain jobs gets rotated, certain things make massive changes to the way we work, right? So what companies do is they try to cover the cost and they try to increase the productivity because that's what the company wants. But when we work in silos, like on our own, productivity suffers. Then environmental concerns. So environmental concerns also play a major part. Now what happened if with the express fur situation, do we buy fish? We are a little reluctant. Is it the fault with the product? It is not the fault with the product or the process, but the environment has affected the product, right? In the same way, a lot of other things would affect some of these products that we have based on the environmental concerns. Even in the apparel sector, if they are not doing a proper way of the wastage management, if they don't do all that, it affects their product because foreign countries will not buy anything that is not keeping concerns with the environment. So even if you have the best product, if we are not concerned of the environment, your product and your company will suffer. So environment plays a major role in the marketplace. So talent shortages, lack of skilled staff. We have, all of us say there are thousands of undergraduates who are unemployed. We interview hundreds of people. They may have a lot of qualifications, they may have a lot of paper, but if they don't have the skills they require, they will not be employed, right? So when there are people who are not talented enough to change according to the requirement of the market, they will keep on destroying the market. Why? Because they can't make, it might be a marketing manager, but if they are not capable of changing or upskilling themselves, what happens? He becomes useless for that company. So they keep on destroying the market because they don't understand the market, what the market requires. So when they don't understand what the market requires, they will not be able to relate their product to the market. So lack of upskilling, you need to continuously keep on building your skills. Just because I have got my qualifications long years ago doesn't mean I'm qualified now. I need to make sure that I can compete with a person in the current context. I need to have knowledge in the current context. So I need to be able to know what's happening in the environment, what is happening in the market. If I don't, I will get eroded. I will be sent out. Okay. Then technology advancement. Now you were wondering why technology is supposed to make marketing more easier. No, technology is there. Technology has always been there. But it is how we use technology, right? Technology doesn't just come. It has to be used in the right way. So we have, all of us had AI. All of us had AI before COVID. But did any of us use all that? We spoke about digital marketing, everything. But we thought that having an Instagram account or FB account was digital marketing. It is not the case. It is being able to use the data you have in a productive sense, right? So all these, the blockchain, the quantum computing, mass arrival of machine customers. So all this is on AI. So blockchain means what? What you have that you are going to make use of, right? And now customers purchase online. They're machine customers. We don't have customers who walk into our shops anymore because our shops are closed. So we need to make use of the technology that is available to prosper if we are in the market. So technology advancement has also affected the marketplace. So this is the reason why we say that marketing has been affected by these things, right? Are we clear up to now? Or do you have any questions? I'm waiting. Do you have any questions? If you're okay, say okay. So far, if you have understood, right. Okay. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Please do ask so that I can explain it, right? So what we're going to see now is we are going to see how we are going to use the changes, the effects of marketing for our benefit, right? So as I said, the market has changed. So what we are going to do is we are going to see how the market has changed and what we are going to do about it. Okay. Right. So the first point is in the old scenario, we used to say marketing begins with knowing your customer, right? But in the current context, right now, marketing begins with knowing your customer segment. Now you must be wondering, marketing begins to work knowing the customer, and what is the difference between knowing the customer and your customer segment? Okay, right. So let's see. Brand communication. So in your market, when you communicate, you need to understand your local customer. Okay, your brand must communicate to your local customer. Local means it can be a Sri Lankan customer, it can be a foreign customer. But now, looking at Sri Lanka as a context, if we say local, it means your area, right? If you are a clothing industry and if you are selling in Colombo, there's no point you marketing it to Jaffna, because the way they think and the way Colombo think are different. The requirements are different. The language you speak is different. Language doesn't mean Sinhala, English, Tamil. It means the marketing language. The way you identify your segment is very important to give precise information, what they require, right? So I don't know whether you all have heard this Sinhalese joke. When there was a movie that was advertised in the southern region, there's no discrimination here. In the southern area, there is a different dialect of Sinhalese that they speak, right? It's not the same Sinhalese that we speak in Colombo or the Sinhalese that we speak in any other part of the country. Each region has their own way of speaking. So when they advertised a movie saying, "May there's a kumatada," I hope all of you can understand Sinhalese, "May there's a kumatada," there was hardly anybody in the movie halls, right? The theaters, they didn't have anybody. Then when they found out, they realized that people didn't understand the language that it was given. So they changed the title of the movie saying, "May there's a Makkatai." right? You would have heard this is actually a joke. It didn't happen in reality. So they say that after they changed the name, that there were people queuing up to watch the movie. So it's the reason why I took that example was according to your area, you have to localize the message that you give. So you need to understand the target segment, where your target segment is. It can be demographics, it can be geography, but you need to understand your target, the specific consumer that you are going to be speaking to, and their circumstances. If a person is suffering from floods, are you going to be selling swimsuits? If you are going to be selling swimsuits, how are you going to be selling it? Understand what is most relevant to them and market it according to what is relevant. Personalize. If they require water, you sell water, you personalize it. You say this is clean water, right? So you need to personalize it according to their requirement. Okay. Now, if you see, there was a research done by EY in last year. They've realized that with the pandemic, this is how the consumers behave. They look at affordability. 32% of the people buy what is most affordable, right? If there are 5 products, they try to buy the most affordable out of the 5. Then 25% thought that their health is most important. So they bought things which were healthy for their families, products that were safe, that minimized the risk, minimized the way they shopped, right? So those were different ways that people started thinking. They decided, okay, I don't want to go and buy from a shop. I'd rather get it delivered to my place because it's safe for me. So it was health that was a concern. Then planet first. So where can you see environment made an impact on that? Trying to minimize the effect on the environment and buy brands that reflected good practices or good values on the environment. Then they also looked at society. 15% of people looked at society, working together for greater goodness, buying from organizations that was honest and transparent. If you have seen certain advertisement by brands like Nike, when there was this ethnic, the black and white issue, did they talk about their product? No, they spoke about the issue, saying we are standing for the right thing. What they realized was when they advertised in that sense, people are buying more their products because they wanted to be aligned with products that had values, right? So society first. But if you actually look, only 12% bought for experiences. So this is what the current market is. So what it was then is not what it is now. So what we are going in for is a different market, right? It is not the same market that it was. So people are not buying for experiences anymore. They are buying for different reasons. You need to understand the reasons before you sell. Then comes point 2. Old waivers, you are competing with your competitors. We always used to say, you are competing with a competitor. You have to do better than the competition. In the marketing definition itself, we say better than the competitor. But things have changed. Things have changed. They are looking at competitor products, yes, but they are buying for the best customer experiences, right? You're competing with the last experience that you get, right? Now, if your experience with a certain product is not right, will you go again? No. Now, if all of us have network, how many of us have network issues? How many of you have network issues? Tell me, have none of you have network issues? How? Everyone, okay, right? Even I did, right? What happens then? In my case, I actually changed my network. Some of us do, right? That's because when we have a bad experience, we want to change because we don't want to get stuck eternally. Because recently I saw a telecommunication new logo. It was actually on social media on sarcasm, where they, instead of a O in their brand, they have put the dot that you see that circulates around when something is loading. Instead of the brand name had a O in it, and they have replaced that O with those dots. So that's a lot of sarcasm. People are criticizing brands when they don't give the experience that people want, right? So a lot of things go on. So what people want is, people expect better. We want things. We have requirements, right? We say, company have my data. Why can't they give me better things? When we call Pizza Hut once, if they ask for how to come to your place 1,000 times, don't you get annoyed? You tell, right? You came there last week, last month. Why do you keep on asking my address every time? Don't you have a database? So these kind of things annoy customers. So because they expect a better customer journey, right? People expect a better customer journey because all your the journey is not what you walk. Journey is from the time you start looking for a product. Customer journey is from the time you start looking for a product. Your website should load fast. Your website should have things for me to find easily. It should, if your website is smart enough, if they have realized that I have come to the website earlier, they would pop up the products that I've been searching for. That makes it easier. So I expect the company to have a very easy, smooth transition for me. So from the time I order, if by the time I go to the payment gateway, if I get stuck, what happens? I don't buy it. I get annoyed. I try once, I try twice. The next time what happens? I might actually go and buy from another person. Simply because I'm tired, right? Even if you try to pay certain bills, how many times you try to pay bills and you fail and then you don't pay until you are reminded again or your line is disconnected, right? So things happen. That is the customer journey. So we like to have a smooth customer journey. Then next one is the all customers hope that you have what they want. But do you want that? Do you go there and say, okay, මට ඕන දේ තියෙනවද? Is that the attitude you have when you go to a shop? If you have already browsed their website or their Facebook site for a pair of shoes, what do? You go there hoping that it's there, isn't it? Sometimes you go with a screenshot. This is what I'm looking for, isn't it? So people are going with a requirement already. What I want, I expect you to have. If you have put it on your website, I want it. How come it's not there? Isn't it? That's we go into a place where there is no friction. There is more relevance and it has to be connected. We anticipate that it's there. Right? When we go to a place, if we don't have, then we get unhappy. Right? Then we ask, then why did you advertise? Haven't we asked that? We have gone to a place, they say it's not available. Haven't we asked? Then why did you advertise it? Anyone who has asked that question? No one. You all are good customers. Right? So we always ask, if I'm going, especially if I'm going for a party, I'm talking more to the females I see. Males, gents, please excuse me. Unfortunately, I'm a female, so I understand their problems more, right? If I look for a dress for a party, I've already decided the shoes that I'm going to be wearing with it, the handbag that I'm taking, and how I'm going to put my hair. Okay. So that means when I go to a shop, I expect it to be there. Otherwise, I'm totally annoyed. Okay. In layman languages, we say, I'm pissed. So what happens is we expect things to be there. So that means the content, what your experience, what your app says, everything has to be there. Then we want, if we go to a shop, we want the physical experience to be nice. If we go into e-commerce sites, we want it to have everything, right? We want certain things. We are not going to say no. We are not going to go for second options. And we want convenience. We want convenience. We want discounts. We want extra support. We want cashback return or exchange policies. We want a lot of things. So customers expect what they want, not what the company thinks they want. So when we are marketers, we need to be a step ahead and realize that these might be what the customers are looking for. Okay. Right. So I think I'm speaking to most of you and you understand what I'm saying. Right? If you don't have questions, there are two reasons. One reason is either you understood everything or you have not understood a thing at all. So I'm assuming that you've understood so far. Right. Point 4. We say quoting customers is like dating. Now you're wondering, what am I talking about? This is marketing we are talking, and she's talking about dating and online dating, right? So on a very simple sense, I'm trying to put it in a very simple sense. Those days, we used to go to a lot of places and meet a lot of people. So you had the opportunity of a lot of options to find the right partner. Okay? Because you had a lot of places that you could go to. But now, it's not the case. What happens with online dating? If any of you have done online dating, you put what you want in the precise way and the data that you enter tally you with the person in the other end with the data that they give. Right? So that is what happens in marketing right now. in marketing, they have shifted from brand marketing. We are into performance marketing, right? So we are not going into brands anymore. We want the best performance. It can be a product or a service that meets our requirements. So we are shifting. We are not sticking ourselves to brands anymore. We are willing to give options. We are willing to try things out, right? So it is very important that the customer relationship management or the CRM teams work close with the marketing teams and the media teams so that you give the right marketing message to the media or the advertising campaigns. So you can't sit there saying I'm marketing, their customer service, they are the creative team. It doesn't happen like that anymore. We are all one. You have to work together to give the brand and the performance marketing so that the results are delivered right. So even though we see a shift in brand marketing, we always say, currently we say that it's always good to combine the brand marketing and performance marketing together, because you need to have a brand that has a trust. Plus, you have to have performance that deliver goals. Performance of the product, performance of the team, performance of the brand, right? It has to be given that right strategy so that it's not going to, just because you have a brand, it's not going to sell anymore. Okay. So next one, customers must sit at the heart of your marketing strategy. That's what we used to say. Customer is at the heart of the marketing strategy. No, customer must sit at the heart of your customer journey. That's what I said even before. If your journey is not a pleasant one, you go and check something out. Okay, you have checked a phone out. Okay. Now the phone, you know the features, same features, everything is nice. You have decided which color you want. All that is done. You go through the whole process, right? And you go into the payment gateway. You get stuck. It might be a network issue. So you get stuck. What happens? You put a stop there. If it is a network issue, you try again. You get stuck again. Then you check your network. There's nothing wrong with the network. But the website has an issue with the payment gateway. What happens? You try once, twice, you try. Then you try looking for the same product in a different place. I think this is more relevant to the gents here. They would browse all the places that has all these Gadgetics in every single site. Go through, compare, all that. But if something gets stuck, if the reviews are not good, or the site gets stuck, or the delivery doesn't happen properly, what happens? You go to a different product. If the reviews say, even though their price is high, their after sales service is good, even if it breaks, they will repair it free. What would you do? Would you want to pay that little amount extra or not? You might want to, right? Depending on the product. If you're buying an iPhone paying over 100,000, you wouldn't mind paying another extra 10,000 if there's a warranty coming, right? Extra warranty. But if it is something, even a dress, if you buy a dress, if you can return it, then you would prefer to buy it from that place instead of going to some other place that's a no return policy. Right? So the customer journey is very important. It can be, it doesn't have to be a B2C or a B2B, right? It has to be the journey. Whether it's you're selling to a company, B2B is business to business, B2C is business to customer. Whether you are selling to a business or a customer, it is the same, right? It is the same. Especially when it comes to B2C, B2B, if the customer journey is not good, that organization will not buy from you anymore. If it is a person, they might give you a chance later. But if it is a B2B, especially, your customer journey has to be just right. If you can give extra, that's even better, right? So whatever you do, the customer journey has to be right. So if you have any chatbots or if you have a call center, the first person who answers the phone makes the change, whether the person is going to buy your product or not, right? Then we say relationships matter. But now, in the current context, relationships are everything, right? Why do we say that? See, in the current scenario, lots of companies are having difficulties, budget cuts, they're price sensitive. So because of all those issues, we try to buy from the most trustworthy person. So if I trust you, I would buy from you, especially B2B, right? If I trust the person I'm dealing with, I will buy from that person. You would have heard certain people, when they leave some organizations, they take all the clients with them and start their own company. Why? Because they have built a very strong relationship. That customer will only buy from you, not because you are in that organization, but they are buying from you. If you go from SoftLogic to Singer, they will buy from Singer because it's you that their relationship is. They have the relationship with you. That's why we call it relationship marketing, because you have understood them. You sell a solution to them. You understand their requirement and you say, no, don't go for this. I'll give you the best solution. Go for this option. Instead of going for this kind of laptop, why don't you go for these things, right? You sell a solution to the customer. So they understand that you know their requirement. That's why they prefer to say, go with you, buy products from you. So in marketing, relationship marketing is very important, right? Then comes point 7. So before I explain point 7, are we okay so far? Type, go ahead on the chat box if you want me to continue. Only one person has been, okay, go ahead, right, okay, thank you, right. Okay, so all truth we have said, agility is a technology process. Now we say agility is a modern marketing approach. Why? Agility means being able to change with the time, being able to change with the situations, being able to cater to the requirement of the market, right? Now, say for an example, if you have seen a soft drink advertisement with a popular singer or a couple of singers, right? They say Poppy and a Chamatkare, and all of them are dancing and sharing a bottle, right? Bottle of soft drink. What if you promote that now? With COVID, would you want to share the same bottle with another person? Or do you even meet people to dance and share anything with anymore? No. You need to change. You can't say have the same advertisement going just because you paid doesn't mean you have to use it. Means you need to change. How will you change it? If you are in the creative team, being a marketer, you need to be creative. How will you change? When you're working, when you're stressed out, you cool yourself down with that particular brand. So you've changed. You've changed your marketing technique. You've changed your creative to suit the current trend. That's being agile, right? You change it to suit the current context. You are being agile. So it also means that your marketing, your creatives, your decision making, all those teams have to change fast. They can't sit on it. That's what happened to some well-known supermarket chains. What happened? They took a long time to make their decisions because their decision-making processes were so long. During the first wave, they couldn't sell many things. They couldn't get their products on. What happened? The people who were having little grocery shops managed to get products to your doorstep because they were fast. Their decision making was faster. They were more flexible, right? So, and little small and medium companies, they boomed. How? Even Zoom. Did you know about Zoom? All of us are on Zoom now. Did you know about Zoom before COVID? No. But what did they do? They started giving free access. They got people used to it. Then companies had to buy to make things work. People started using Teams. It's not that we didn't have Teams. We have been using Teams, but we were not very comfortable in it. So we started using all that. Google Classroom, it was there. People didn't use. We didn't want to teach using computers, but people changed, right? So even tuition masters, they changed their systems. But how did they advertise? If you want this lesson, pay 500 rupees and join the class. Marketing. They marketed their lesson for just 500 rupees. So you don't have to be in that particular classroom every day. You didn't have to pay for the month. You only had to pay for the lesson. If you got 100 students just came in for the lesson, how much extra money? Right? So that's being agile, right? So agility is changing with the requirement, fast decision making, and being creative. You have to be creative. Think out of the box. Use things and make it creative. Okay? Then comes point 8. Your brand should stand behind great products. That's what we used to say. We had brand excellence awards. We had a lot of things. But now we say your brand should stand behind great values. If you are a great brand which has value, people will buy. That's why I said I brought in Nike. What happened? They marketed values. So in the post-pandemic, the C-suite or your C-level or your CEOs have to think of brand preferences, right? Brand preferences, organizational branding. If your organization is seen as a concerned citizen. Right? A company is seen as a concerned organization. What happens? They will buy. But what happened with the particular apparel company? We had a Pokura, right? We had a certain COVID Pokura. Why? We were talking about them. We were talking about how irresponsible they were. So why? Because we were associating the situation with the company and we saw them as not having the right ethics or the right values. The company did have right values and right ethics, but we did not associate the company values with what happened. So we see what we see and we apply it to an organization, right? So your organization should eternally show themselves as a company with value, a brand that carries values, right? Why is a biscuits brand eternally advertising on right values, giving an old person a glass of water when he is walking? Why are they promoting values? They are trying to build their organization using values, right? They are saying values keep them going. I hope some of you are not falling asleep. I will go fast because it's 7:14 and I have just another half an hour to go. I hope none of you are falling asleep. Are you up? If you're up, right? If you're up, I'm glad that you're up. Right. If you want more localized examples, please do let me know, because I'm trying to make it as relevant to you as possible so that you understand on a current scenario that you have experienced, right? Point 9. The picture there is not with the brain blown up, right? I will relate it later. You need the right tech stack to drive modern marketing success. That's what we used to say. But now we say you need the right balance of factors to drive modern marketing. Why? Because our brain would explode otherwise. We don't want a lot of tech. We want things technology that can make our product go a little further. In a very simple way, what's the point in having a Ferrari? All of you know Ferrari, right? So what's the point on having a Ferrari if you are only driving 40 miles per hour? Guys, tell me, is there any point in having a Ferrari if you can't drive beyond 40 miles? Yes or no? I'm waiting for the guys to answer. There's no point, right? I mean, if you want a Ferrari, you want to drive, isn't it? You want to make sure that you drive and not crash, but go to the maximum speed that you can. So it's like that. You can have the best technology in your organization, but what's the point if you can't make use of it? So it's like having a Ferrari. You're driving in a Sri Lankan road. Having a Ferrari, you can't drive anywhere in Sri Lanka. By the time you start, your destination is already over, right? So it's like that. In a company, you have to have a right balance of technology and service. There is no point in having high tech if there's no service that can meet that requirement. And there's no point in having all this technology if the humans are not involved, if the humans are not giving it a human touch. Because no matter what technology you come, marketers are very important, because marketers are the ones who are going to tell them no. This is their pain point. This is what we need to solve. This is what their requirements are. So there has to be a human touch. Bots, everything can come. AI can come. A lot of things are there. At the end of the day, a marketer has to make that choice of telling what you're doing is wrong. So that's why marketing has changed, right? So I will tell you the next point is that. So marketing is important for growth. That's what we used to say. Marketing is important for growth. Marketing has to do the advertising. Marketing, what happened? Those days when something happened, the first thing that goes is the marketing budget. Isn't it? Some of you who are working, what happens? Right? Okay, I'll come to that question, Ashik, in a little while. In marketing, when some of you who are working, you are in sales or marketing, first thing, either your commissions get cut or your marketing budgets are cut, your advertising is cut, your creatives are cut. But in the pandemic, what happened? Everyone had to market using digital. You've done digital marketing. So digital, we thought as I said before, so we thought we were all digital. We had Facebook, we had Instagram, we had YouTube channels, but did we use them productively? Did we have the possible avenues to do digital optimization? No. So it was not, even though we used to say marketing was important for growth then, now we say marketing is at the center of the growth, right? Marketing, that's why we say marketers are required at the board level. Without a marketer at the boardroom, a company cannot survive. If you actually look at most of the successful companies, there is a person who is a marketer in a CEO level. That's because you understand what's going on. You understand where to drive your organization, right? So that is what happens. Marketing has changed. Importance of marketing has changed. And now marketing has been a requirement for the boardroom level. Okay. So what Ashik has asked a question from me. I'm just diverting a little from the topic. He has asked, what do I think about 5G in Sri Lanka? To be very honest, I'm not a techie. I'm a marketer and an educationist. I'm not a techie. So from a perspective of a marketer, if you can't have 4G right in Sri Lanka, I don't know what we are going to do with 5G, right? Because we got 3G, then it became 4G, and now even 4G doesn't work right. Okay, so I would like 4G to first work right before I go to 5G. Then I will at least have hope, right? So I'm not in a position to give you a technical answer since I'm not a techie. Okay, right. I hope that was okay for you, Ashik. Right. So what is in it for us? That's the most important thing. For us, what does it do for us? Because at the end of the day, you and I are working in the marketing field, and we need to understand how it is going to be helpful, right? So we are going to be the driving force, the growth of the business. Marketing, as I said, the 10th point was we are the driving force of our business. So because of that, there are few areas that we need to pay a little more attention to. We need to upskill ourselves. What is upskilling? Right? You need to continuously learn. කතාවක් තියෙනවානේ මොනවාද දැනගෙන විතර යන්න පුළුවන් කතරගම කියලා නොදැන ගියොත් අතරමඟ. So you need to know what you are doing. Without knowing what you are doing, you can bluff. But bluffing will only take you to a certain point. It will not get you through and up the career ladder. So you need to continuously learn. You need to continuously learn. You need to continuously train yourself. We said that there is a lack of skilled people. There is a massive lack of skilled people in the market. That's why there are lots of jobs. You go on top jobs, you go on express jobs. There are lots of vacancies available. But there aren't people to fill them. Why? Because people don't have the skill set required. So get your skills right. Do the right qualifications. Because there are lots of qualifications you have. There are lots of certificates that you can get. But what happens is, especially in the marketing field, getting just a certificate or a paper qualification is not going to help you. Because marketing is a practical subject. You need to do a qualification that will enhance your knowledge so that you will be able to go and work in a practical environment. You can apply your knowledge. You should be able to apply the knowledge that you have gained. There's no point that you can get an A or you can get a distinction. But if you can't go into a company and do a basic marketing plan, what's the point of your A? You can have an MBA in marketing. What's the point if you can't do a simple marketing plan? Because that's your requirement. As a marketer, you need to be able to do a marketing plan. You need to be able to advise people on how to do a marketing plan. You need to advise people on how to do creatives. You need to be able to identify the environment and the gaps in the environment so that you can market your product to the pain points of your customer, to be able to understand your customer segments, to understand the brands, how the brands work, how the brand can be twisted to the requirements of the customer, right? So you need to be able to do all that. For that, you need to do a proper qualification that builds your character and builds the capability so that you can go and do justice in your job, so that you won't be asked to leave in a few months' time. You have to continuously train yourself. You can't say, now I did my marketing long years ago, but I can't say I have done marketing. I have to keep on training myself, because when we studied marketing, we didn't have digital. There was nothing called digital. So how can I advise my marketing team on how to do digital marketing or how to use the digital platforms if I have no idea about digital marketing, or I don't know about SEO optimization? I don't know how to use AI data. I need to train myself. I need to upskill myself. I need to be current. I need to understand. I need to read the papers. I need to understand what's going on in the environment. I need to understand the business climate. I need to understand the politics in the country to be able to give my product to support the market. If you can say that you don't like politics, I don't like politics either. But I need to understand politics if I am going to be able to use the loopholes in the politics, if I'm going to use the requirements of the politics to build my brand, to cater my brand, to change my brand according to the environment, right? So you need to be current, you need to be continuously learning, and you need to be continuously training yourself, and you need to associate with the right qualifications, right? Use resources available. So when you have resources, you have a lot of resources in-house. You don't need to go looking for data. You already have resources in-house. Your website has a lot of resources. Your Facebook has a lot of resources. It's all at the back end. Ask the people who are doing it to get the data out. Do research. Understand the patterns. Understand why people are coming. What kind of things are people looking for. Understand the patterns of likes. Just because you have loads of likes doesn't mean your brand is performing well, right? If you go on Instagram, you have a lot of Instagram influencers, right? Pardon me for saying this. There are lots of ladies who expose themselves and say, I'm here, I'm there, right? They talk about a lot of hotels, they talk about a lot of brands. Honestly, think to yourself, how many of those brands do you remember? Guys will relate a lot more to this, right? You look at the person only. You don't look at the brand. You don't look at the product. You just admire the person or the amount of skin shown and you go. That's it. So if you are spending money on these kind of influencers, you are not getting any value to your product. You're only wasting a lot of money, right? This is reality, because if you look at your data, you will realize that these influencers have not been bringing in any customers to your website or have not converted any of those, right? So this is what happens. You need to understand what your product is and how you're marketing it. So use Instagram is very effective with the younger crowd. Facebook is very effective. Even TikTok is very effective, provided that you use it right, for the right purposes, right? So make sure that you do your marketing right. Innovation. Get out of the box. We are all very comfortable in sitting in our boxes. We say no, can't do, coding දාන්නත් බෑ, පත්තරවල advertising යන්නේ නැහැ. We've been boosting, we've been targeting, but no sales. Think. Have you been boosting right? Are you targeting to Kandy when your product is in Matara? Is your supply chain happening right? Is your logistics right? Is that the reason why people are not buying? Because your delivery mode is not right, or the delivery person is not delivering your product safe, right? When you deliver the product, some things are missing. Maybe that's the reason why people are not buying it. Find out, think different, give it in a different way. That's why we say marketers, a good marketer will sell a refrigerator to an Eskimo. If you know your marketing right, you will sell it, because marketing is all a psychological game. Marketing is not for fools. Marketing is for smart people. If you are in marketing, you have mastered the way of manipulating the market. You have mastered the way of making people think what they want is what you want, right? So that's how it goes. And the next one, network. Your network is your net worth. That's what we said. That's why I said, when you go from one company to the other, you take all the clients with you. That's because you have done your marketing right. You have to brand yourself. You have to market yourself. Even when you go for an interview, what's the first thing you do? Why do you send a CV with a picture? You send a CV because you're selling yourself. That's the advertisement. You're sending an advertisement to a company saying, here, with all the products that you have got, I'm the best product that you should have. Market yourself, right? When you go for the interview, dress up, go right. Even if it is an online interview, dress up, look good, because you are branding yourself and telling them you're not just another person. You're someone different. Market yourself right. And mind you, since you're doing marketing and branding, I'm telling you, when we recruit people, we check your Facebook. We check your LinkedIn. So make sure you know what you're doing there and create the image you want. I know that social media is not real life, right? A lot of people create a different image of themselves in media, social media. Create the right image for yourself, how you want people to see. So with that, we come to the end of our discussion. It wasn't a discussion, it was basically a monologue. So if you have any questions, please do let me know. I have a few minutes, I think. Raghavi?
Yeah. Yeah, madam. I would say like it was really insightful session, great session. Thank you for that. And you have like covered really nice with the practical situations, modern trends. Yeah, guys, you can ask questions if you have. So feel free to ask.
Is it smart to start a business which caters to niche market in the current context? Diniti, it's like this. First of all, niche market means you are not looking at a lot of people. You are trying to cater to a selected group of people who has the requirement. That means there is a requirement that you have understood, right? With niche marketing, we cater the niche market, especially in the blue oceans. You would have heard about the blue ocean marketing and the red ocean marketing. Red oceans means that there is a lot of clutter. There are a lot of people competing. So you take your market to the blue ocean where there is only a little bit of competition or no competition at all, right? So in a niche market, you do your first, you understand, do a SWOT analysis about your company, this business that you're going to start on. Understand your SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So after you do that, you do a PESTLE analysis on your market, right? Niche markets generally is a tough one to get into initially when you are a startup. But if you do it right, then you can prosper like him, right? There is a lot of opportunity in niche markets, but you need to do it right. You need to market it right. You need to understand your customer segment and the pain points precisely, right? Because what happens is in a niche market, you can't cater to a lot of people. So you are going, probably you are looking at about 100 people, not thousands. So you have to understand what they are. And the reason why we should do an PESTLE analysis is because you need to understand the macro environment, whether certain political or the environmental or legal issues will affect your product. So you need to understand how the PESTLE or the environment, you need to do a external audit PESTLE is an external audit to understand how it's going to affect your business. So after you do that, a lot of startups have gone into niche markets and they have been very successful, right? So don't be afraid in the current context. Current context has given a lot of opportunity for a lot of people. A lot of startups have prospered more than the blue chip companies. So it's all about how you market and how you position yourself in the market on the business that you're going. I hope I was clear on that. Right? Then there's another question. If our current customers switch to one of our competitors, how can we convince them to switch again to us? Very simple. Pranavi, the best way you can do it is, first, if you know your customer has switched, find out why. The reason for a person to switch to another is because they are not happy with something that has happened. It may not be your product. It may be the service. It may be the person they spoke to at the call center, right? It may be an email that didn't get answered. It may be a little scratch on the or a line on a dress. So find out what the problem is, the pain point, why the person shifted. Once you find out, then you will know what to solve. So once you find out, it's easy for you to solve it. So then you go back to them and say, okay, this has happened due to this reason. Don't justify if it is a mistake on your end. Say sorry. You say sorry and say, there has been a mistake from my end. Tell me how I can correct it. If you can correct it, correct it. If you can't correct it, you say, I'm sorry, but next time, please do come back to me. I will make sure that that mistake won't happen. They will give you a chance. Sri Lankans are very nice people. They like to give a chance to another person, provided they accept their mistakes. But don't repeat it. Okay? So I hope, Pranavi, I've satisfied your question. What is the, okay, there's another one from Nimuthu. Yes. Is it better to advertise to a general big audience or target a specific small group of people? Nimuthu, it's like this. It depends on your product, right? We do general advertising or mass scale advertising for FMCG or fast moving goods, right? So that's because it is a product for a lot of people. But in this current scenario, we generally say segment, identify your segment and the product, it depends a lot on product. As I said, Upiyana Chamatkara, if you sell it now to a dancing group, the dancing groups don't even meet, right? You have to change it. So you can advertise it based on the requirement. Now, for example, if you advertise a chewing gum, okay, to general public, do you think you will have a lot of sales? Because right now what we are doing is we are doing a lot of digital marketing. So you can actually target, because people who use chewing gum are the people who smoke, one. Then young people, right? So those are the two categories that use chewing gum. So you have to target to that group. There's no point in targeting to a 75-year-old who might not even have teeth, right? So that's the reason. You need to understand what your target audience is, and based on that you have to identify the segment. If you are doing digital marketing, since it's the current trend, because we have no way of doing any other marketing, please targetable. That's the best way that you can get a lot of sales. If you do general, you might get a lot of but your targeting, if you get it right, you can convert the customers. Otherwise, you will have a lot of likes only in your page. You won't have the likes turning into sales, because sales at the end of the day, that's what brings in money. Hope that was okay, Nimuthu. How to convert our leads to potential customers? What would be the best method of marketing in such a case? What happens is, see, in marketing, we say there's something called a golden hour. Okay, I know that it's a bit tough right now. If you get a lead, you call them within an hour, you can convert at least 50% of the people that you call. We call it the golden hour. No, most of the people wouldn't have told you this, right? But that within that hour, if you get a lead and immediately you call, the client is satisfied because your customer journey has started off in a very positive mood. That's why I said customer journey is very important. So when you call them, you ask, okay, what is your requirement? You give a solution, not a product. You ask, okay, what is your requirement? If it is a computer, you ask, madam, why are you buying the computer? Okay, then they will say, this is for my child. Then you ask, okay, what is the child's age? If it is a 5-year-old, you don't need a high-end product. Then you will say, madam, since he is a 5-year-old, we'll get a hardy thing that will stand the child thumping on the keys. Or if it is a 16 or a 17-year-old, they would like a little more high-tech, good-looking thing. Then you will say, this kind of thing are more valuable for young people. So why don't you go for these are the price ranges you can. I will recommend this one based on your requirement, but you have these prices also that you can. You give them options to choose from. Don't let them go outside and look for options. You try to give the options within your crowd. Okay. And when you give the product also, you have placed the order. It takes a little time, okay, for you to get the things going. You give them a call and tell them, madam, I have placed the order. It might take a little time for it to get delivered to your place. Is that okay? They will say okay, right? You give them that reassurance. If you say that it's going on Friday, send it on Friday latest. If it goes before, great. If it don't go on Friday, call them on Thursday and say, madam, there is a problem. It won't reach you on Friday. Is it okay if I deliver it on Monday? Don't build expectations all the way there and drop them. Give them reassurance that you're on it. Keep on talking to them. Keep on talking to the customer. Say, okay, after you deliver, after about a week, just give a call and ask, madam, how is the computer doing? Are you happy with the product you got? They will call you. I'm telling you, 200% sure. If they want, or if they want anyone else to buy a computer, they will say, "Menna meyatama katha karanna anna athana. Wenna kaatawat katha karanne epa. චේතනටම විතරක් කතා කරනවා. එයා තමයි මට බඩුව දුන්නේ. හරි හොඳයි. බඩුව ගෙදරටම එනවා. හදිසිය පරක් වුණත් කතා කරලා කියනවා බඩුව එනවා කියලා. That's the way you win trust. It's personal branding. Okay. Hope I was okay, Chetana. Sit me. What is the best platform for digital marketing in this pandemic? Sydney, there is no best platform. All platforms are good based on your product and what your requirement is. See, different platforms work in different sense. As you know, Instagram caters from 16 to 25. That's the age group that is very active on Instagram. Then you have around 25 to around 45 who are active on Facebook, right? Then you have another group of people who are in their 30s to around 45, 50 who are active on LinkedIn. So based on your product, you can choose the platform. And based on the product and the platform, you will have to customize your creative. The way you cater to put an advertisement on LinkedIn, you can't use the same advertisement on Instagram or Facebook. So you have to change it accordingly. Okay. So I hope, Sidmi, you are okay with that answer. What can be the best approach to increase website traffic, and do we have to maintain a range as if our site may overwhelm by peak traffic? Actually, I'm not the best person to answer this. As I said, I'm not a techie, right? There are technical people, analysts, who can give you the data. What you need to tell them is, when you sit down with them, you tell them, these are what I want. Tell me the peak hours that people go. What kind of traffic, what kind of age ranges. For you to make certain decisions, you get the data from them, right? So once they get the data, now the website traffic, you can do it with SEO optimization. There are ways of you paying and getting on top and lots of things. There are different ways that you can do digital marketing, right? There are certain ways, even after you're paying, if somebody else pays more, you end up going down the search list. So you need to get the people who know it well to give you the data. And you need to get a person who understands digital marketing, SEO. SEO means search engine optimization, to help you with that. Now, even when we decide, we get the professionals to give us the advice and tell us how to do things. We don't go according to what we think. We get people to do it. That's why we recruit people who have the professional skills and capabilities to give us that advice. So based on their knowledge, we utilize their knowledge and make sure that we make the right decisions. Right. Okay. I hope that was okay, Pranavi. Are we okay with the time, Raghavi? There's one more question that
No.
What are the strategies that we can use to promote our product in this pandemic? Strategies are basically, you need to understand the pain points, right? As I've given you, I will, if I go through this, my presentation, I will show you how, I think I covered this, right? This is how people had reacted, right? So they go for affordability first, health, planet, society, and experience is the least, right? So when you give a product, if it is high priced, you need to justify why your product is high priced. Okay, you give the customer journey. You can say, my customer journey, we give after sales service, we give, we come home, we deliver, we set it up, do a lot of things, delivery free. Why? You're making the customer journey good. You're saying our website has lots of options. We have a service team. We have our in-house maintenance. We don't send it here and there. So if your product is high priced, what do? You give them options, because you're going for the pain points. Pain points means places that people hurt the most. You sell it to the places where people hurt the most. So when you promote your product, you keep these things in mind. If it is affordable, if it is not health safe now, like a soft drink, you give something else, you make them feel good. You try to put a few things in. So that's why you think out of the box and bring your creativity in. Okay, Sydney? Right.
Yeah, there
Okay,
are like couple of questions from the OC as well. Hope you have time to answer.
We have a few questions, is it?
Yeah, from OC.
Okay.
So, shall I ask?
Yeah.
How to do a viral organic content marketing without investing in a professional way? So,
I didn't get you. Sorry.
How to do a viral organic content marketing without investing in a professional way?
How to do viral organic marketing?
Organic content marketing. Yeah.
Yes. So what you need to have your content right. See, a person won't go into something unless your content is good. So you need to have content specific, right? Don't clutter. Now, if you look at my presentation, right, it wasn't cluttered. I didn't have a lot of going in, going out, a lot of images popping in, popping out, a lot of words, lot of arrows. There were little bits and pieces. So you have to make your content very attractive and specific, right? So when you have specific attractive things, you can drive organic likes. Yes.
Yeah.
And mostly when you associate certain people, sometimes we have celebrities, we have people who like things, we put a face, we say, okay, so and so like this, you know, things like that. You can drive in a lot of organic traffic and it can go viral. See, you have seen Gihan Block. Block and Dino. What a lot of marketing they do. And their programs are, even though it's an advertisement, usually we say an advertisement should be only online 15 seconds long. But their advertisements are few minutes long. It can go up to 7-8 minutes sometimes. But we watch and we remember. Why? Because they do it, their content is right, and they go viral. So they have done the best content marketing that went viral with the most amount of organic traffic coming into their advertisements. Okay, I hope that was sufficient.
Yeah, it's clear. And one more question: when it comes to B2B marketing, how to target audience from contents we create?
B2B marketing is a little different from B2C marketing, right? B2C means it's a client. B2B is a business organization. Generally, with experience, what I'm saying is B2B marketing is generally we buy because of relationships. It's a relationship marketing that works in B2B. If you know the person who's buying, if you know the person who's making the decision, you go and talk to them. It's relationship marketing. Most of the time, B2B is relationship marketing. When you have enterprise businesses, we don't advertise it. We go to a person and market, isn't it? Have you seen advertisements selling to another company?
Yeah, like yeah.
Very rarely, isn't it? Yeah. If you give solutions now, if it is I have seen these some things like this now. A hotel chain might promote a package to another company. Yeah. To sell it to their employees. So things like that happens, right? But that also you go and speak to the HR person or the person handling that and get it approved. I hope that was okay.
Yes, that's clear. And there is one more question from Savit from Slate. So Savit, you can unmute and ask the question.
Hello, madam. Can you hear me?
Yes, Savit.
Hi, I'm Savit from Isaac and Slate. And in the current context of the world, we have the pandemic, and companies are finding it hard to stay afloat, and they're facing a lot of hardships and challenges, right? So, considering that, partnership development, or rather getting companies as sponsors to projects, is really tough these days. My question is, what do you think we should include in our business pitch that will make us stand out of the competition and drive the company into saying yes to a partnership, like especially during these days, because companies are quite reluctant to partner up. Yeah. So what would be the best selling points for us to market when setting up a partnership?
Selling partnership. So what is the business like, if I may ask, Savit?
It's more like a project. So when setting up projects and finding sponsors, yeah.
Yeah, projects. What kind of projects?
Mostly like online webinars.
And online webinars. Right. Now, what you need to understand is, now you are an event company, I suppose. Right?
Yeah.
Yes. So event companies don't have business thanks to COVID. So what you need to do is, see, you need to understand that Sri Lanka is a very price sensitive market. Okay. So you need to come up with certain areas that you can cater to the person that is doing an event. Okay. Now, for an example, I'm talking through experience. I have my own event company. That's why I'm talking, and I understand the situation that you are in. What happens is, Zoom is available, Teams is available. So anyone who wants to host an event will go on Teams or Zoom. Right? So because it's very cost effective, they only need to get the link and then they can host it. But in your situation, you need to partner up and give a reason why there needs to be a partner, or you need to be part of their event. Now, say for Isaac, for example, you need to tell them, okay, what are the pain points that you're going to take away? You can handle the back end. You can make sure that everything is done. The creatives are done. Made sure that the creatives are aligned, that the presentations are run, that they don't have to look for things. You know, you have to understand what the difficulties that they would have. Okay, sir. So if they have certain difficulties, you can go with options, give them a proposal, taking all the difficulties out of their system. Say if you tell Raghavi, you don't have to host this, we will make sure that everything runs smoothly. You only have to talk there. Then she will be happy, isn't it, Raghavi? So, because then the event at the back end, you are looking after the event. The stress on her is less. So, events is a very tough time. So what you can do is, either you partner with IT tech firms and go and do some solutions and go through them to handle the partnership, right? That is another option that you can do. Or otherwise, you give it as a free solution, so that once you do a few events here and there, that you will build your capability so that others will look for you. I hope that was right. Okay, Savit.
Yes, thank you, madam. That answers it very well. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's clear, I guess, for all. Yeah, thank you so much, madam, for this insightful session. As Javier from CC said, this is one of the sessions ever from the 100 storytellers. So let's one more time, let's hear it from the Chartered Institute of Marketing. Vahi, up to you.